now from Nashville, Tennessee, it's time for another episode of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow, where all things related to your safety and security are discussed, detailed, and delivered to you. You may leave with a tip that saves you money or a tactic that saves your life. So here are your hosts, owner and founder of Defend Systems, Brink Fidler, and owner and operator of Herring Technology, Tom Herring.
Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. Once again, bringing you to you via Zoom from our quarantine editions of these episodes. My name is Brink Fidler, owner and founder of Defend Systems. With me, as always, is my co-host and founder of this podcast, Tom Herring, owner and operator of Herring Technology. We are certainly living in different times with the COVID-19 pandemic occurring, which has brought up a lot of different considerations and security issues and personal security issues and business security issues. And so today we want to talk about some of those things, how it's affecting the way people stay safe. You know, we're all in our homes, most of us, except for the essential workers. And let me just say a quick shout out to all those essential workers out there, the first responders, the medical personnel, the farmers, the grocery people, the truck drivers. Thank you for what y'all are doing. But, you know, people are getting, people are pinned up, right? And so they're going stir crazy. And I think people are almost at a boiling point. And, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, and desperate people do desperate things. So we just want to talk to you guys about a few things that you can do, whether it be being armed or to protect your business or what have you. Let me hit on businesses real quick, because, of course, Tom is an expert in the security technology industry. I mean, they do all things from cameras to access control to analytics to facial recognition to gunshot detection, you name it. And I've been in close contact with law enforcement here in Middle Tennessee, my former coworkers, and they are seeing a pretty significant spike in commercial burglaries. As you can imagine, you have businesses that have a lot of valuable stuff sitting in their business, and their business is closed with either no one there or a skeleton crew there. So, Tom, from your standpoint, what are some things, you know, a business owner can do right now in these trying times to kind of help protect their property?
Well, we'll start with the most simple is essentially lighting as one of the first things that you can go to around your business. Is make sure it's well lit at night. How many times do they close their business and leave, and they're not even really sure what it looks like at night? The second thing is, you know, make sure everything outside is neat looking, and it's more than just picking up trash and everything, but you want it to look as though someone's there. It's well kept. Shrubs are trimmed, trees are trimmed, and all that leads to, you know, the first line of defense on the outside of the doors is cameras. And at night, you're going to need good lighting for the cameras. The views do not need to be blocked by the trees. You don't need heavy shrubs out front, places for people to hide, you know, for when there's drive-by traffic. You don't want somebody to be able to work on a door for an hour to break into it. You know, regardless of how good your lock is, enough time you can get in. And if there's large bushes that somebody, every time a car comes by, they can duck down behind, it just gives them time. So basically, you're looking for delay tactics. And kind of, I think what we're going to talk about today is some of my old soccer phrases that I like were delay, deny, destroy. And that's kind of the way we look at it in businesses as well. You want to deny them, then delay them, then destroy. And we can talk about the destroy part in a little bit. That sounds harsh, but it is part of it as well. So, but, you know, having an alarm so that you're notified, especially if you're away from your business right now. Your response time with the police may vary, but at least you know, and you can, you know, if you have a good camera system, you can log in to see if there's people on the outside of your perimeter or if they've actually breached it and made it inside. Now you can make a call to the cops and they will respond to a video verification of someone entering your building a lot faster than just, a notification from a third-party alarm service. You know, obviously those things are all deterrents, and you're making sure all of your doors are locked or secured. Do you have fencing? If you do, make sure the gates are locked. Do not leave stuff visible. I mean, it cracks me up how many places just have huge windows and people can look in and see what the assets are. Is it worth breaking in or not? Those are few of the things that you can do that aren't buying a new system, but will help any system you buy.
Well, I want to hit on, right now there's these businesses are struggling, right? I mean, they're most of them anyway that are not open. They're obviously certainly struggling. So some things you hit on that are free are go to your building and, clean up if it needs it, right? I mean, pick up trash, trim your hedges. Those are things that business owners can do that are free. And number one, it shows people driving by that there's activity there, even though it's closed. And number two, it sends the message that this business, this property, this building is well maintained, well cared for, and looked after, right? That's all back to the principles of, crime prevention through environmental design. That's one of the things you hit on in the CEPTED principles is having a property that's well maintained and well cared for. And that's something that's free.
Absolutely. That's, people do not take advantage of that enough. And, they're just the daily maintenance. If it looks like it's kept up, then they know people care. And if they care, then they probably have other measures in place, and without the person knowing for sure if they do or they do not.
Right. And, if a place is obviously cared for, then people are going to assume it's pseudo often occupied. Otherwise, how is this maintained? How does it look like that if it's not, maintained? So, some other inexpensive or almost free, I say almost free things you can do to prevent. Now, if you have a building that's full of glass, I mean, short of the security laminate on your windows, that's about the only solution there. But I see this a lot in residential, and can be applied also in your business setting. Is taking literally a 2x4 and putting it on the ground up against the base of your door, and running that 2x4 all the way back to another wall somewhere. So basically, you have a door stop between the bottom of your door and whatever the next thing is behind it. That's not quite free, but it can certainly be a heck of a deterrent to somebody trying to kick your door. And it's it's based on the principles of the Haven lock, of there being a wedge at the bottom. And that's a phenomenal and easy thing to do. What we're not seeing law enforcement wise, though, is an increase in residential burglaries. We're seeing a decrease because everybody's at home.
Exactly.
But again, people are desperate, and the longer we stay out of work, the more desperate they become. And if you don't think home invasions are happening, you're crazy. They are happening. No matter what the economy's doing, no matter what the pandemic's doing, home invasions are still happening. So I want to talk a little bit about protecting yourself, not only at home, but when you go out. There's a lot of opinions out there as far as weapon system of choice for home protection. And a lot of people like a 12 gauge shotgun, pretty rudimentary, typically easy to use if you have a semi-automatic, or pump. And, can you hit your target? I mean, it depends on how close they are, but those are great. They're not high capacity weapons, but they're easy to use. I'm a big fan of a rifle, a magazine-fed rifle, typically an AR platform. You're going to win most encounters you have in your home with a weapon system like that. Even if they come in with a similar weapon system, at least you're fighting fire with fire versus a 6-round revolver or a 6-7 shot pump shotgun. But obviously, it's more difficult to strap a rifle on and go out in the world. So, in that case, handguns obviously are a big thing. I'm also a fan of a magazine-fed handgun system for concealed carry and for protecting yourself over a revolver. Revolver's a nice, what we used to call a get-off-me gun, right? When we were working undercover, we'd usually have a revolver under our leg or something we could get out real quick and get the bad guy off of you. But that's not a gunfight gun. That's not something you can engage. You want to engage in a gunfight with is a 6-shot revolver, right? You want a higher capacity magazine-fed weapon system that you can engage somebody with. I always carry a semi-automatic pistol and a spare magazine, and I don't just do what I got in my gun and then I hope I don't run out of bullets, right? I know that I've got another magazine that I can go to if I need to get behind some cover or concealment while I'm doing that and continue to engage. But that also tells me in my mind, okay, I know now I'm on my last mag. I need to be changing my tactics. Instead of just sitting here and exchanging rounds with somebody, I need to be doing something else to get out of here, right? To get away from the threat. So I know you're obviously, Tom, a big fan of all the above, Mississippi boy growing up hunting. You got guns coming out of your ears. But I think you take the same principle, but what's your approach at home versus at the office versus in the world?
There's one thing we never lack in this country is opinions on guns and what's the best to have or to even have them at all. But I think the biggest thing people it's what they're comfortable with. You came from law enforcement. That was the way you trained. That was every day's practice. You're extremely used to it. And therefore, that's exactly what you should, do. Use what you're capable of using. That's the way I kind of look at it. From just a civilian approach, and a lot of our clients that we work with who are trying to get guns, in my house, I'm going to start out with a shotgun. I'm used to it. It's the old Remington 870 pump, the universal gun that you can grab at any pawn shop or Walmart. Well, it used to be Walmart. I don't know if they still carry them or not, but it's an inexpensive gun. It is not high capacity. You can make it, where you get up to 10 rounds in it. You can make it a little more high capacity. But I think there's also a mindset that has to be there between the individual where yours, because of your background and where you came from, you weren't firing a few rounds and getting away to save your life. It was your job to get the bad guy in this, right. So yes, right. Your approach is stay in it, go. My approach is, take them down, get away, stay safe. Now, in our business approach is a little different. We're there to catch the bad guy or, bring them in, whatever we have to do. So there's a mindset there. We have a lot of females, that, and I'm not picking on them, by the way. But my wife, I'll just say that. So we'll take the female part out. My wife says, she's not going to use a semi-automatic. Just because she doesn't use it every day, not even once a week, so if it does have a jam, what are all these buttons for, so we go with right. the 38 Smith & Wesson Airlight revolver, you point and pull and it's generally exactly going to go off. There is nothing wrong with that. And that is, right. The only time she's going to use that is if somebody's right there on her, trying to cause bodily harm. It's not, I see a guy over at the neighbor's yard, I'm going to start trying to attack him, from 60 yards away. That's what you right. and I would do. So for fun. So, but anyway, that's, I think you have to take all of that into consideration as far as choice of weapon, we can also open up, what's the best round, what's the best caliber. And, there's as many opinions on that as there are on guns itself. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, as far as you hit on a lot there. So as far as caliber, it's called shot placement. I can kill you with a 22 just as fast as I can kill you with a 5.56. Right.
Gun control.
So, that's right. Muzzle control.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I mean, I'm not going to get off in the weeds on that. Shot placement is everything. Obviously, certain rounds cause more damage than others, and blah 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 blah. But you're right. What are you comfortable with? My wife has an airweight 38. Because she's not going to be a gunfight person. She's going to be like your wife, or get off me, get away, get to a safe space, and that's that. She has the ability to pick up a rifle and engage somebody, and is very comfortable doing that as well. Here at home, but she's not going to be out in the world doing that. So, you brought up the Remington 870. A good friend of mine, Dr. Bob Barnett, always says that I always bring an 870 when I go duck hunting with him, just as a backup to my Beretta. And he one time he said, the good old 870, you can kill ducks all day with them, and if your motor dies on your boat, you can paddle the boat home with it and not hurt the damn thing. And he's
Absolutely.
right. I mean, we had them at Metro Police Department. They still have them. I mean, I carried a shotgun for my whole career. I didn't give it up when I got a rifle. I kept my shotgun also because it has, certain properties about it that I would go to instead of a rifle. So that's a fantastic gun. Like you said, they're inexpensive. I don't even want to talk about how many I've bought over the years because they're a great gun. But I think you're right. What are you comfortable with? If you're not going to shoot every day, and it's just to get off me, get to my safe space, deal with it kind of situation, and get whatever you're comfortable with. But make sure you're comfortable with it, right?
Absolutely.
Don't buy a gun, shoot it once, and stick it somewhere, and hope that in that moment you're going to be able to hit what you're aiming at. I mean, I used to work with people that qualified twice a year, right, when you were required to. And besides that, they never fired their weapon. And I just think that's crazy. And that's a police officer whose job it is to strap on body armor and a gun and go to work. So if you're going to be a firearm owner, part of becoming a responsible firearm owner is not just safely securing the darn thing, but actually being able to be pseudo proficient with it to, number one, hit your target, and number two, not hit something you don't intend to hit if it comes down to that moment. So you're right. It is personal choice. I'm like you, I'm more of a hunter, and I am going to finish the problem more than likely. But if I'm with my family, and I'm in public, and there's not a direct threat to me, I'm going to be a good witness because I'm not going to bring my family into the situation. But if my family is not with me, then I don't do well as a sheep or watching the wolf devour a sheep. That's why they say soldiers and police officers are sheepdogs, right?
You have to go get it. That's
amen, brother.
A lot of the mindset. But you brought up a great point, the training. And when I say training, I'm not always, you don't have to order 1,000 rounds every, 2 months and finish those off and get more and always at the rate. That's great if you do that. But, even for just the casual carrier, go shoot. Don't just let those rounds sit in your magazine if you are using a semi-automatic and just sit there for year after year after year and think, wow, I went and took my test of my class and I had to certify to get my carry permit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's do more than that. Go out and, depending on where you live, go out in your backyard and shoot some, just exercise
right.
it. Know that the gun is in proper working order. I mean, that's the worst thing. I was real bad about carrying a small pistol in my pocket, just in the pocket holster. And I pulled it out when I hadn't shot it in a while. And I go over to the armory to shoot. And when I take it out, I look at it, and there's more lint in it in my vacuum cleaner bag, all in this little pocket pistol. And I just started laughing, and I'm like, it's probably going to catch on fire when I shoot it and burn my hand. And that's how much lint was in this thing. But you have to know what you have and how it operates. Even if it's down to it's Bond Arms, the little Derringer, 2-shot. People carry those in their pockets, and they're bad about lint getting built up in them, and they're great little weapons, but they're essentially get off me, a 1 to 2 foot range between you and your opponent there. So I think the training is a huge factor. And if you're going to carry every day, to me, you need some classes. You need to get out and shoot. You have to know how to use that weapon in that situation. I mean, as much as we do, the normal civilian's not getting attacked every day. And that hopefully it's not even the thought in their head that they are. So when it does happen, it's a reaction that is being brought on in a split-second decision. And if you haven't trained in that or know what to do in that, and you think, what are you going to throw your hands up in the timeout formation to whoever's attacking you? Hold on, let me get my gun. Now I've got to remember where's my safety? You don't have, you're listed as a casualty victim at that point in time. So,
amen. Well, you brought up training and you said the word reaction. Of course, you've heard my spiel. What training brings on is not a reaction, it's a response, right? That's what we want. Everybody's going to react if somebody attacks them. Not everybody's going to respond. What we want is a response, but that only comes through what you hit on, which is training. And you don't have to go out and get the most high-speed training on the planet. Great if you want to. That's fantastic. But just marksmanship. And when you're going to the range, are you drawing from whatever holster you carry every day? I hope so, because that's reality. If you wear it in the small of your back under a long sleeve or an untucked shirt, practice that way. Practice getting your weapon out that way. Are you moving, right? As you draw your weapon, as bad guys in front of you are attacking you, are you moving while you draw? If you're not, you should be, if you can do that safely wherever you practice, right? Indoor ranges won't let you do that, of course, for obvious reasons. But all those things don't take a ton of money or a ton of time, right? I mean, again, if you want to be to 1,000 rounds every 2 months, Ryan Kleckner from Gun University, by God, do it. But, practice like you play, just like you do in sports. It's the same thing. A couple of things I want to hit on, though, when we talk about if you're going to arm yourself and you want to protect yourself, the immediate violent threat is not always the thing, right? So whether it be at home or in your vehicle, Tom, I'm a big proponent of medical trauma, bleeding control, tourniquets, gauze for wound packing, chest seals, things like that. Not real expensive to get that stuff and keep it with you. And you can watch videos online on proper application of a cat tourniquet, proper application of wound packing, whatever it is. But, in 2016, there was an active shooter event at an elementary school in Townville, South Carolina, and a teacher tried to apply a tourniquet on this child's leg using a scarf. It didn't work. He went into cardiac arrest for blood loss. So I just don't think I could ever be in a situation where I didn't have at least something to treat life-threatening bleeding, whether it be on me or my family member or someone else. So just, if you're going to carry a firearm, or you want to, even if you're not, getting trained on just some easy medical bleeding control and having that equipment with you, really important. Do you keep a bottle of water in your vehicle or two, and a protein bar or something? You don't know when you're going to get stuck in a snowstorm, on a highway, whatever that looks like, right? I mean, you could go off in a ravine somewhere. So just as a precaution, keep a few things like that in your vehicle. Do you have a way to get out of your seatbelt and out of your window if you do crash? Do you have a little rescue me tool or whatever, right? Seatbelt cutter and glass break tool. They're like $10, right? I mean, there's one in every vehicle I own. Just small stuff like that, not really expensive, but can allow you to prepare for more than just an attack against you or your family, right? Some other things that can help you without going all crazy bug out bag necessarily. A good flashlight. I know for a fact, Tom, you have several. I do too, but I didn't realize how big a flashlight junkie you were until the other day.
I love flashlights.
You just never know. You never know. Well, they're great. I mean, they're a great tool, and then they can be used to blind an opponent at night or throw them off as far as where your location is. I mean, they're fantastic. So small things like that, a protein bar, bottle of water, flashlight, a little bit of medical gear, and, your whatever firearm of choice. And if it is a 38, then a speed loader to go with it, something to reload, a little extra ammo. And doesn't take up a lot of room, but that's stuff that you can keep on you. Stay prepared. and be able to deal with a problem, whether it be, an attack or any other issue for you or your family. I think that's just a few things that any responsible citizen can do for themselves and their family.
And back to the choice on gun, carry what you're comfortable with. Don't.
Yep.
I see this all the time. You get a couple of people talking about, well, what do you carry? Well, I've got this new SIG and it has this, da 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 da. And that person wants to go get it to keep up with them and has no idea how to operate it. Carry what you're comfortable with, not what your buddy does, not what someone else does. What are you comfortable with carrying, and what's your purpose in it? Now, know the limitations of it as well.
Yeah.
What is it capable of doing, and what are its limitations? That's one of the biggest things. Like you said, when you put your second magazine in, you've got to start thinking then, I'm about to be out. What is my next tactic? The capabilities and the limitations of what you have. Same goes. If you carry a 22 pistol revolver, know what it's good for. if they're holding you down on the ground, shoot, roll, and run. I don't know. I mean, you just know that's your limitations. And also know your responsibility as well. That's the other thing. That's your bullet once it leaves that barrel.
That's right. And you're liable for every one of them.
Where it stops traveling is up to you. So you have to know that as well.
Projectile liability.
Exactly.
Darn right. So
Producer Jim
all
here,
good points.
I've got a question real quick for somebody like me who is I'm not really trained or haven't been around guns a lot, but I'm thinking about it. What's the process? What should I do? How do I go about, what's step one, in your opinion, to gun ownership?
So first of all, let me just say, there's no one quite like you, Jim. You said guys like me, so you're pretty special.
Thank you.
I want to get that out of the way first. Secondly, go to a gun range, National Armory, Royal Range, Bellevue, wherever you live. Almost every gun range I know of will rent firearms, right? So ask the gun people at the gun store, what are some popular carry guns, or what are some popular handguns that people like to carry or like for home protection? Shoot those guns, right? I mean, you're going to know very quickly. The gun store is not going to push you towards some crappy gun, right? They want to sell you a good gun. So your Glocks, your Smith and Wessons, your SIGs, your Berettas, your Heckler and Koch, those type of weapon systems that are tried and true by military and law enforcement. But some people shoot different guns differently, whether it's a semi-automatic or if it's a revolver, or whether it's single action or double action. So just get your hands on those and see what you're comfortable with. And when you find one you're comfortable with, then it's time to start doing it more often, and maybe looking at purchasing that particular gun.
What about getting licensed up and the concealed carry kind of stuff? What would be the first step in that?
Well, now you can go online, actually, and believe it or not, and get your carry permit. I don't recommend just doing that, although there are people that do that. Mm-hmm. I recommend going to an actual carry permit class where you actually sit through a class and you can engage with the instructor and you can talk to people and do those kind of things and actually shoot your gun, although it's not required. Mm-hmm. In Tennessee anymore. I would recommend that. Or if you want to do the course online, that's fine, but please go shoot. I mean, that's really important to get comfortable shooting your gun long before you ever try and carry it. I think that's just a responsibility thing, not only for you, but for your family, the people around you, your coworkers, whoever it is, and your liability protection down the road. I mean, like Tom said, you're responsible for every projectile that comes out of that bore. I don't care who you are. So you want to make sure that your ability to put rounds on target is pretty significant ability before you start carrying it, or even before you start using it at home. I mean, it's just, I saw a lot in law enforcement days, and the last thing we want is a good guy with a gun who tried to do the right thing to be held some kind of, personal liability or even worse, criminal charges against them. Then, you're really up a creek. So I hope that answers your question.
Jim and Brink both brought up a good point on the gun stores. All of them here in Nashville, pretty much all of them also offer classes, basic self-defense,
training,
the different weapon, the trainings. I highly recommend taking some of those. That they have great instructors at all those locations. I would, take a class to understand, how do you draw your weapon? How do you hold the weapon? I mean, it's more than it's, as you said, someone who hasn't been around guns, when they walk in the range, at least the range instructor they're at least going to tell you when you're not doing it correct and putting someone else in danger. And that's at a minimum. So, but I would recommend the classes, and then, getting out and using the weapon as well. As far as carrying and Tennessee, Brink, I think I'm correct, is it's open. I mean, you don't have to have the permit anymore. Is that correct?
That I think it's correct. Yeah. I mean, it was
after our
news
it
passed.
Yeah, it's just recent. So do your research on that.
No, I'm not sure when it goes into effect. I'm not sure if it went into effect immediately or if it's July 1, like a lot of the other ones happened. But yeah, that's correct. But again, that allows you to carry in Tennessee, but that doesn't allow you to carry in Georgia, right?
Correct.
So that's why I'm a big fan of getting your carry permit still, because most states, not all, but most states have reciprocity with Tennessee on the carry permits, which allows you, if you have a permit, to carry in a multitude of other states. That you can get your lifetime permit, I think it's like $200 for lifetime, right? Where you're not renewing it every 4 years. That's another thing they passed. So go spend $100, take a good class. I haven't taken classes too many places, but Royal Range here in Bellevue in Nashville is phenomenal. Their director of training used to be the head trainer with Metro Police Department. I can tell you for sure their training is phenomenal. I'm sure there are several others, but I can tell you for sure theirs is absolutely outstanding. Training is just one of those things. Do not carry your gun if you're not comfortable with it. But I want to be able to carry my gun other places besides Tennessee. So get you a good class, spend you $200 and get a lifetime carry permit, right? I mean, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Of course, right now, it's different. People are out of work. I'm not saying you should take your economic stimulus money and go run to the gun store by any means. Do what you want. It's your money. I'm all about liberty also. But I think it's a small price to pay for peace of mind. And it's a small price to pay that if you were ever in a situation where you had to defend your family and you couldn't, I would be terrible to try and live with that.
Absolutely. Also with the class, you learn your legal ramifications of what you're doing, and that's good to know. Not always necessary for defense, but you also don't want to be in more trouble afterwards. And I would just encourage responsibility with that as much as anything.
Yeah, well, I hope this information was helpful. We wanted to get we only do this podcast to try and bring you guys information and try and educate you as much as we can based on our experience, our training, our knowledge, our backgrounds, all those things. We don't by any means know everything or even pretend to know everything, but we like to give our opinion on things based on, again, our expertise and our backgrounds. And, I think that's everything. So we really appreciate you guys listening today to this edition of Tips, Tactics, and Tools for a Safer Tomorrow. You can always reach us at tipstacticstools.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm out.